Welcome to the course Spring Boot. This is lecture 8, making put and delete request on resource. In this lecture we will be creating a put and delete request to delete and update a state in our list. So let's begin with this, and again we are back to the controller where we need to define two controllers for one for the put request and the other one for the delete request. So let's copy this one and begin with doing a update. So for update a record we use a put method, and what we're gonna do is we need to pass a state object, and along with that we need to pass a state code. So in this method stateCode, in this method where you want to update a state, I'll just name it update, you need to pass both object that is going to be taking place with the old object, and along with that you need to pass a path variable which will be a state code, using which we will identify that which object needs to be modified and replaced with the new object that we are passing. So so far what we have done is we have a request mapping, we have a same URI like state code. This was for getting a response for that particular state on the basis of the code of that state. Here we are passing the same state URI in state code, but along with a state code we will be passing object that needs to be replaced with the existing object, because we want to modify that object which already exists in our list. So for example, what I'm gonna do is instead of Georgia I will just say Georgia state, and update the name of this state as a Georgia space state. So back to this controller, we have passed the state object, we have passed the state code, and we need to implement a method, a new method which will be a update state, and which will be taking a object of state as a parameter definitely, and a state code as a string parameter which will be used to identify which state in the list needs to be modified. So this is it, and for update state we will just create a new method update state in our state service class. Similarly we will be doing for the delete state. For delete state I'll just copy this method, and what this method is gonna do is it will take state code, and we will be deleting this state. So we don't need a path, we'll need a path variable, but we don't need to pass a object of state because we are not updating anything, we are just deleting on the basis of the ID of that state, and we obviously we don't want to return anything. So just change this to void, and instead of get state I will rename it to delete state and pass the state code. So this is it. We need to just implement a method in our state service class. So we have update state method and delete state method. Now this is all about Java. Our controller is defined, we do have a controller, so we need not to worry about it. Here what we're gonna do is we need to handle this response that we are getting. Here's the object and here's the state code. So what we need to do is look through our list, find a state with the state code mapping to this past parameter state code, and replace that object with the new object that we are getting as again a parameter in this method. So what I'm gonna do here is I'll write a for loop for looking through our list and find the state object with mapping state code. So to begin with I'll just write a for loop for I equal to 0 to I is less than states dot size, and we will increment I with 1, and we'll be looking for this state as equal to, we'll just take the object in variable s, which will be a type, which will be of type state, and just get the whole object at that iteration. And with this object, sorry, this is not states, this is a state class. So if you find the object with the matching state code, so if we get s dot get state code dot equals to the state code that we have been passing through our controller to this method, if it matches to this, then what we need to do is we need to replace that object with the new object. So at the index I want to replace this with a new object of state. So this is it, and after, if you found the state and you have already replaced it, then you don't want to execute the loop anymore, so you just type return. So this is it. This is implementation for the update state. We will be passing a state object in our request body and state code in our URL, which will be passed further to this method, and this method is going to take that state code, look for that object associated with that state code, and replace it with the new state object that we have just passed through request body. Similarly, we will be implementing the delete state method. We have a state code passed in. We have to look through our list and find the state code mapping and delete that object from our list. So what I'm gonna do here is I'll be looking for removing from the states dot remove if you find any state with a state dot get state code which is equals to the object or a string object that we are passing, which is a state code string. So this is it. So we have implemented our update state method and delete state method. We are removing a state if we find the matching state with the state code passed in this method, which is getting passed through controller. So we have defined our controller and we have defined our methods. Our code is done. So let's go and test this. So to test this, I need to run it first. So I'll run my Spring application and go to the Postman and make a GET request to see what states I'm getting right now. So right now I'm getting a Georgia, Florida and Alabama. If I want to make a post request, it is still there, and we will be able to create a new state which is a Tennessee state. So let's do this. So we have created a new state which is Tennessee. To test it one more time. Now what are we gonna do is we want to update our Georgia state and replace this name Georgia with a new name which is Georgia space state. So we need to pass a JSON object in our put request, and we'll be passing it as a raw JSON body, and instead of Georgia we will be having, the indentation doesn't matter, but just to make it look nicer I'm doing this. So what we want is, we don't want the name to be as Georgia, instead we want it Georgia state. And again in headers we need to define our application content type, and we need to post this URL again. So this is our URL that we want to post to the state Georgia, and the content type is application JSON. So I'm gonna make a put request in here, and what it is gonna do is it's gonna go to our code in controller, which is this one, states/Georgia, and it will pass our request body and the code also, and this method is gonna update our list defined in here and replace this object with Georgia state. So let's do this and check if we are getting it back. So we have sent, and of course we got 200 OK status, no response because it was a void return type. And now let's go and make a get request to our states and see if the Georgia has been changed to Georgia state. Yes, it does. So this is our update method. Now let's do the delete. For delete we need not to pass any body parameter, so we are good for that, and what we need to do is just paste URL and pass the code which state you want to delete, and just make a request. And again we got 200 OK, and this is a void return type, and let's see if the Georgia state has been deleted from our list or not. So now we are getting back Florida, Alabama and Tennessee, but not any Georgia. So this is our delete request, and this is our update request using put. So this is it, guys. This is pretty much standard set of methods for any resource. We have in our controller we have states. To get all the states, we have a single resource URL to pass the code and get that particular state. We have post request to create a new state, and we have a put request to update the state, and we have a delete request to delete a particular state from our list. So in next lecture we will definitely be changing this hard-coded data set to the list which is coming from a SQL table, or we don't want it to be hard-coded list. So in the next lecture we'll work on that, but for now we are done with our controllers. We had a look over defining all our controllers, that how we can redirect the post, put, delete and get request, and define our URL and those methods in web services. So see you guys.